Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
And I'm on mute. Salut tout le monde. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm hearing a little bit of an echo here, so if that's hopefully it's not too bad on your end, and if it is, we'll fix it next time. But écoute, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for joining us today. I get it. That was not fun. We're gonna talk about it. I feel like the Montreal Canadiens fans are being a little bit impatient right now, but after what we saw tonight, maybe that's not the best time to pontificate about the team. There's a lot of work to be done. That's the reality of the Montreal Canadiens. I know every offseason we sell this hope, this ounce of hey, what if? And that's why we watch sports, right? If not, we wouldn't be watching these games. But a sober look at this team tells you there was very little chance that they'd be better than they were last year. So we'll actually oh, there you go. I am off. You're right. So what we'll do right now is we're gonna. There you go. My face should be back there. Sorry. See, it was your fault. You told me that my face was off. You could have had the whole show with my face off, but now my face is on, and you have to deal with it. Okay, hold on. Where am I? Hey, give me 1 second here. Tout le monde, un moment. Yeah, I really wish you could see my face right now. That'd be fun. All right, well, we're going to keep going even though you can't see my face. I don't know why that's happening right now, but hey, it's a bonus. Everyone that's seen my face before, you don't need to say it again. Okay, so while I do this, let me know. I'm seeing everyone's having fun in the chat. They're letting everyone know that they're here. They're getting involved. Tell me what you think about that game, though. Honestly, tell me what your expectations were also coming into this season. This, to me, was very predictable. Youngest team in the league, you're missing the top players. This was always going to be this way. But on that note, what I would say is there are reasons that you can be legitimately frustrated right now, right? After 3 years, the Montreal Canadiens have not taken much of a step forward. After 3 years, a lot of people who paid good money for season tickets are pissed off, and I get it. I completely get that. That's legitimate. We should, oh, there you go. My face just left again. That's great. I don't know why that. I think it's actually just Discord keeps... I'll have to fix that next time, but seems to be fine for now. Anyhow, so to me, everyone that has season tickets, I get it. You're frustrated, but this is part of the plan, right? So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I get the sense that this will be even worse down the road. Like there's a lot more bad before there's good. It should all eventually lead to a better area, a better situation for the Montreal Canadiens. But one thing you can criticize, and Kay brings it up in the chat, was the way they played. The intensity wasn't necessarily there. Now, we saw Nick Suzuki did pretty good and to kind of get his team back there, and I feel like Jake Evans always gives a yeoman effort. But, oh, there goes my face again. What's going on here? Anyhow, but what we're going to do now is I'm just going to leave it on Discord because I'm running through a new system. Bear with me here. Yeah, you should be able to see my face. Oh, well. Like every ex-girlfriend I've ever had, you might want to tell me you're never going to see my face again. But here's the issue with the Montreal Canadiens is we're not there yet, right? So we can talk about the team improving, and there's guys that are improving. Yes, absolutely. But every team has those young, quality players. So to me, there was almost no hope to see them take a huge step forward because, to their credit, they added Patrick Laine. Now that was a good add, but by doing so, they got rid of Jordan Harris. And they got rid of Jonathan Kovacevic early in the year. And then they got rid of Arbor Xhekaj from their lineup. Now, one thing I will tell you is those are the top three possession defensemen they had in the lineup last year. So you just removed half of your best defensemen in terms of shot share. Now, there's so many things. There's usage, right? You can't say Arbor Xhekaj was better than Mike Matheson, even though his stats were. It's a different situation. But if you start to pick apart that Jenga block, you realize that maybe there wasn't enough underneath to really keep it stable. So those blocks that you thought you could move end up being, I guess I just want to play Jenga is what I'm getting at here. But all this to say, hope is good, hope is great, but without any kind of tangible add to the Canadiens, it was to be expected, right? So what we're going to do here is, oh, hey, am I back now? There you go, I am back. let me know what you think. First of all, I don't even know if I have the emotional capacity to talk about the Barron hit. And I made a quick joke about it on Twitter. It was only the 47th headshot he's landed. And the funniest thing for me was the response from Rangers fans. They get pissed when you point out he's dirty. Like, man, absolutely own it. Trouba is dirty. He's as pure as the New York snow. Okay, let's put it that way. Own it. He's a dirty son of a bitch, and he injures people by hitting them in the head. Stop pretending otherwise. You can't be, like, fuck it, the NHL is tough, and then turn around and be like, no, that was a clean hit. He has a long history of giving people brain injuries, and that's the number one thing that the league said they want to get rid of. So, I mean, you can excuse anything in the NHL, and obviously Rangers fans, after they've seen him do headshot after headshot, they're kind of used to it, but that is exactly what the NHL wants out of the game. 100% of it went straight into the head. I don't give a shit if Justin Barron was slightly lower than he was 10 strides before, because you're not allowed to hit a guy in the head ever. Like, it's not legal because he went down a little bit. That's not a thing. So, but that being said, it's an emotional drain on a frustrating game. So I don't know if we're going to talk about the Barron thing too much. And obviously Kay is probably devastated right now because she's a big Justin Barron fan, but she's also a good person. So Kay wanted to join me on this show today, and I asked her very nicely if we could maybe do it next time. We'll get her on the next show, and that way you won't have to look at just my ugly face. You'll have a pretty face in there with us, so have a little bit more balance. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and in the meantime, we're going to move on to that, because I really feel like Habs fans, I don't know why it all fell tonight, but the Habs are who we thought they were. Maybe you didn't think they were, but this is the exact Canadiens team I thought they were. So what I'm going to do here is maybe ask for suggestions from all of you. I have some ideas of how the Canadiens could immediately improve the team. I want to hear what all of you have to say. I saw in the chat here, where was it? John Dion saying, Primo is not an NHL goalie. Hey, I get it. Fair enough. Don't forget that this is a guy over 5 years. He got 40 starts? So spread over 5 years. All his time in Laval, 3 goalies. Whether it was Charlie Lindgren or... there's a host of other people in Laval. He never really had that chance to develop. So I will say you're probably right. But also, the Habs made their bed in that respect for Caden Primo. Did they expect him to suddenly become great and dominant without any experience? And that's a really tough situation for a goalie, honestly. What we saw tonight before the game was a good reminder that the game's changed, right? So we saw all these dominant players. We saw guys like Yvan Cournoyer that, has 12 Stanley Cups or 13 now? I forget. 5 as a player, sorry. And actually more than that. I'd have to go check the number. But that is gone. Those days are over. There's no Ken Dryden that's going to show up and win, 70 games in a year. It's just not realistic. So I think the message tonight, beyond we need to be a little more patient, is lower that bar. The expectations got up to this point, and I get it. Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon said, yeah, we want to compete this year. I don't know what else you expect them to say. So in that regard, I feel like this is all too predictable, but I get the sense that people are pissed off at me right now for saying that. So let me know what you think in the chat. We're going to go right into some chat comments here. Every time I switch to the chat, my face goes off. That's why that's happening. So I'll try to switch quickly. Yes, Kay says it's going to be so chaotic with us too, Mark. Yes, absolutely. Saturday is going to be incredibly chaotic. Dina Zulu, who's always in our chats. Last year, I don't know if I've seen you this year yet, but this is my first host. The blood, yes, the blood from Justin Barron. I'll be honest, I was actually out of the room and I came back and I saw it. It's there's a concerning level of injuries in the Montreal Canadiens, just historically speaking. I don't want to say Justin Barron is injury prone or Caden Gooley is injury prone. But they're asked to be put in a situation where they're playing top pairing. He was playing with his Mike Matheson tonight. And same thing with Caden Gooley on his offside as a 21-year-old. And he's put into a lot of situations that are difficult. And the same thing happened to Barron tonight. You don't want Justin Barron to be the guy that you're counting on to drive the play. Caden Gooley in his off wing, which, by the way, if you go back, him playing his off wing is one of the reasons he's been injured so often. He's slower to get those pucks to the puck retrieval, the corrals. Slower clears, and that's one of the biggest issues with Caden Gooley right now. So I would say the Montreal Canadiens have put a lot of their players in a difficult situation, and some of that, not all, some of that is the reason that we're seeing so many injuries. The other is, hey, listen, I love Kirby Dach. You're not going to find a better guy. He works really hard, and I know that it destroyed him last year, that he spent all summer trying to get ready to stay healthy. He knew he had to stay healthy. Game 2, injured. But there's a reason that the Hawks were ready to move on from Kirby Dach, and I'm not saying he's a bad player, but when you get a refurbished computer, they're not offering a warranty with it. Let's just put it that way. And that's kind of how I look at it right now. Yes, if Kirby Dach starts dominating and becomes great again, that's fantastic. But there was the risk here. And the risk was that there was a history of injuries. You get what you get. You know what I mean? And I'd even go to as far as saying with Patrick Laine, it wasn't his fault, but he's also had his fair share of injuries. So it's just being more realistic about the players that they add, I think will be very important. Not just for us, the fans and the analysts. For Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon too. These great deals are great deals for a reason. Okay, so let's jump on here. Oh, Claire won't be around on Saturday. Bye, Claire. All right, well, fine then. If you're not around on Saturday, I will be bitter forever. No, that's fine. Actually, me and you are due to go grab a beer at Ye Old Orchard there, Claire. So I know I've been busy the last 47 times, but it's just about time to do it. Before we jump into what everyone thinks you can do to improve this team, I have 3 ideas. I would ask you to do your best if you could to share. I know, okay, listen, Andrew's been so humble in this, but man, he's been moving mountains to get all this up on the ground. He got us funding. He's been doing all the sales pitches. Don't forget, this is an Anglophone in Quebec doing pitches to banks and Caisse Populaires. That's not a very easy proposal. So if you want to support Andrew for all his amazing work, and all of us, but mostly Andrew, share, like, watch Hyperdrive, watch Game On, which is our version of our In the Morning of the Recap, preps you for Game Over, and just share the word about all our streams. We have streams for every Canadian team. So, okay. So, John Dion says, I feel like Dryden couldn't have done better. You know what's funny? And I don't know how many oldies that we have in here like me, but I know some people that think Ken Dryden is overrated. And I almost believe it, but it'd be so arrogant of me to be like the guy that won 6 cups in 8 years, or really like 7.1 years, is overrated. The guy with the best numbers historically in the team is overrated. But the Montreal Canadiens, for those that don't know, those teams in the 70s, it was unfair. Like we look at it from the Canadiens' perspective. They were like, oh my God, this is great. Every other team in the NHL hated the Habs because they were so good. Like it was almost like a Michael Schumacher type of dominance for the Canadiens for that long. And like, this is an era when Bobby Orr was in his prime and they only got 1 cup out of him, you know? So, I'm not going to say Ken Dryden is overrated. Actually, it's funny, is Dan Robertson, the old voice of the Montreal Canadiens, we had this conversation. He respects Dryden, but he does point that out a lot. When you're playing in front of that type of quality, like, we're never going to see that again. You might have a pretty good chance to win cups. That being said, man, if I have a documentary about the 76 Habs, which, by the way, we're working on one, I'd get Ken Dryden to narrate it. That would be my guy. But I'm going to have to keep him a little shorter because I know, like me, he likes to talk. Yes, Kay mentions, not sure if anyone saw Dryden. Okay, the word on Dryden is that he speaks a lot. Now, don't forget, he ended up being involved in politics and his, how would you say it? His ability to enchant people with his oratory. No, I was going to say, actually, that was going to turn out terrible. But anyways, he speaks good English, yo. That's what I wanted to say, but in a much more intelligent fashion. Okay, tell me what you think for this team. How are we going to fix this? How do the Montreal Canadiens fix this team right now? I think the number one thing that we do, or the Canadiens do, and this has nothing to do with the Trouba hit, get Arbor Xhekaj back in the lineup. Am I like, this is crazy town banana pants to me. Why is Arbor Xhekaj getting villainized? I know I went on a rant about it last time, but okay, yes, tonight it would have been great because he probably would have beat the living hell out of Trouba, and that would have been cathartic for 31 teams. And then you'd have the Rangers fans being like, oh, I don't know why that happened. But the most important part of all this is the Montreal Canadiens are the worst team in the NHL for puck possession, for shot share, for high danger share, for expected goals. Guess who leads all defensemen in those statistics, those very important statistics that you need to be in the top part to make the playoffs. It's Arbor Xhekaj. I don't get it. I feel like Montreal, we have such a long history of eating our young. And we're doing that to Arbor Xhekaj when it should be, and we did it to David Desharnais too. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is frustrating because it's a found wallet. That's what Arbor Xhekaj is. He's a found wallet, and I just don't understand why we're attempting. Like, even if you want to see Jaden Struble in there, you don't have to go denigrate Arbor Xhekaj to do it. And by the way, we're gonna see a lot more tough plays if we have Logan Mailloux and Jaden Struble playing in front of Arbor Xhekaj, and that's not to insult them. He has more experience. He has better stats. He's more suited to play in that role. They're not. Once they make it, once those guys, once Mailloux, you want him to be in your top four, not your third pairing. That's where Arbor Xhekaj is at his best. He has a specific role. No, he's not going to play top 2 or top 4, but what he does it better than anyone else in the lineup. Jaden Struble in the same situation, not as good. So I would get Arbor Xhekaj immediately back in that lineup. Okay, Thomas with a good retort here. Oh, I got the kind of crazy guy hair going on, eh? I'm waiting until Christmas. My friend Chelsea, she'd be pissed at me right now, but she always gives me fantastic haircuts. And the person in Montreal that I was using, she got really, really old and she started doing a not so great job. So now I wait until I'm into Ontario to get my haircut. That being said, listen, I agree. I agree what you're saying here with Thomas. Xhekaj isn't moving the needle, but it's plugging one hole. It's an internal option that makes the team better. No, it won't push you to be dominant. But what it will do is it'll save Logan Mailloux from getting, eaten alive maybe, because we remember here, like him and Lane Hudson have very little experience. Hudson less than Mailloux. But once again, the Habs are running with a bunch of rookies on defense. And as encouraging as that is, it comes with the other side, is that there's going to be rough nights. Arbor Xhekaj, I think, can do a pretty good job of making it less painful for the Canadiens and more painful for their opponents. Is that fair? But I get what you mean. He's not going to be a top 6 guy. That's fine. But we shouldn't expect Arbor Xhekaj to be a top 6 guy. There's no point. Okay, Dina Zula says there's no point in playing what ifs. But, and this is where, Xhekaj would have probably jumped on him, fed him a few punches, and Trouba is going to concuss another player, give him an injury in 2 games. Arbor Xhekaj was not there to enforce, because enforcement is a fallacy in hockey. It doesn't exist. Remember when Marc Savard got taken out for good for his career? Guess who was 3 feet away? Milan Lucic. Arbor Xhekaj was on the ice when Cédric Paré took out Laney, if I remember correctly. No? Regardless, he's there to avenge. He's there to satisfy our thirst for revenge. And I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes right now, but that's what it is. Let's be perfectly honest. The Habs got their ass kicked for 20 years in a row. And there's a certain limit. If you're losing the games and you're getting your ass kicked, that's the worst of both worlds. I will tell you right now that Arbor Xhekaj, despite what I'm seeing on social media, is probably the most popular guy in the locker room. And I saw some tidbits today suggesting, he's going to listen, he's very grateful for the Canadiens too, right? They gave him a chance. They were the team that really gave him his start. But I don't think the Canadiens look at it the same way that a lot of people on social media do, in the sense that, we can move him or Struble replaces him, because that's not factual. It's not based in anything. It's a new toy factor. Yes, Struble, it's exciting. He's young. But until he can show me that he can not just tread water, like kind of swim in it, I really would have Arbor Xhekaj in there. Wait a minute. But no, he wouldn't have stopped it. He wouldn't have stopped any dirty hit. Guys don't stop dirty hits. That's not what it is. Marty McSorley never stopped a single dirty hit on Gretzky, but he avenged a whole lot of them, and that's what it is. That's really what it is when we have these guys in the ice. Now, the important part here is that Arbor Xhekaj, it's fun that he can steal Zach Kassian's soul, but the number one thing here, why I want him back in the lineup, is not the hitting. It's not the fighting. It's the play. He's been their best, most reliable defenseman. And I know that right now people's eyes are probably going, statistically speaking, no other defenseman has been better in the last 3 years. Usage is different. He's on the third pairing. I get that. But, it's almost like we're looking at a gift horse in the mouth. What I saw today when people were saying, Arbor Xhekaj might ask for a trade, the part of it that I believed was that 31 other teams would be interested. So, again, he's not a fighter. He's a defenseman who can fight. Okay. Oh, King of the North, how's it going? Salut. Actually, you know what? Last year, or was it last year? Or was it 2 years ago? I got mad at one point at King of the North. I forgot what it was. It's because I used to have, and you can still hear it, but fairly strong speech impediments. And there was an incident with the Canadiens where it actually, like, someone criticized it. It was my boss, actually. It was really, really shitty. And, I've actually had to go back and I have a good friend who helps me with my linguistics, so that's important. But at one point, I think you made an innocent joke about I'd stumbled 3 or 4 times, and it was right on the heels of that, and I think I got mad. So I'm gonna have to apologize 2 years later for getting mad at you. That wasn't fair. I was mad at other people, my bosses, that should never do stuff like that. So I apologize to you, King of the North. Okay. C'était bien. Why shouldn't Jacky injure the other star players first, the way she goes? I mean, no, but wait, listen, I know you're saying sarcastically, but this isn't a morality contest. That's what when I mentioned, like, Jackie's not here to enforce, I said that on Twitter a few weeks ago, and people are like, well, you realize that'll just lead to more injured players? Yeah. It's not a morality game anymore. That game's been thrown away a long time ago. Now it's about getting your pound of flesh, and I absolutely agree with everyone that's saying that's barbaric, that's ridiculous. Absolutely. But it's a situation that the league has put themselves in by not protecting their stars, by not penalizing obvious penalty. Jacob Trouba, again, and not just tonight. You can go back, did he ever get suspended? I think he got fined a few times. Either way, like, come on there. He could have a rap sheet as long as Rutu used to have, or as Cook, for what he's done. So the NHL doesn't protect their stars? Why would you try to adhere to any kind of morality code? Like, what's the logic there? So you can get your ass kicked and lose? I know that it sounds a little immature, but the Habs are sick of getting their ass kicked on the scoreboard and on the ice. And if they can get one back, now it's on the ice in terms of just physical battles, they're well within the rights to do it, because they've watched so many of their best players head straight to the locker room the last 3 years. They're star players. No response anywhere. I know everyone got mad at Jeff Petrie that time when Montembeault got run. Listen, no one else did anything either. Without trying to be too dramatic, that response, and Ken Dryden mentioned it, that response that we saw in the preseason from Arbor Jacky does more to unite a team than anything else. And I think we really need to listen to Ken Dryden when he talks about what makes a good team. He might have a slight idea. Okay, water under the bridge 2 years ago. Yeah, well, hey, I've lost all meaning of time there. And Tiben, salut Tiben, ça va? Hey, bienvenue. En plus, okay, on va prendre, I was supposed to jump to the first period. Andrew came up with all these fantastic, here, hold on one second. I need to put a new frame here. Oh, lost my face again. Second period. Passe-moi la puck. All right, there you go. Oh, you lost my face again. I'll get it. One of these times I will get it. Number 2. There's 2 forwards on the team that I would move around. But I don't want to steal everyone's thunder here. But to me, it's quite clear that Joshua Roy needs to be in the NHL. Like, the Montreal Canadiens have this anemic offense, and there I am, my face is back again. The Montreal Canadiens have the worst offense in the NHL. Like, this isn't an opinion, this is factual. Joshua Roy led them in shot share, expected goals. His assists per 60 was number 1 on the team. His points per 60 was number 1 on the team. See where I'm going with this? His goals per 60 was only 3rd on the team. Joshua Roy ranks 1 in most offensive categories last year for the Habs, like per 60 minutes of ice time, than anyone else in the team. Like, that's and it's important ones, like goals and assists and shots, so, and takeaways, and he's really good at not giving away the puck. So I get that he had a bad 20 minutes in preseason. Mais maudit, man, preseason was nothing. It was, to me, that was nuts how much we judged on nothingness. But I would get Joshua Roy back up here immediately. And everyone that said he looked underwhelming, vous avez raison. You're absolutely right. He did. But the Montreal Canadiens are not in a situation where they can afford to keep Joshua Roy in the AHL anymore. They just aren't. They lack the talent. Listen, for Yoel Armia, it was a great story last year, but écoute, if you have Yoel Armia in your top 6, Ça va pas fort ton affaire. You have Alex Newhook who can't win a face-off for the life of him, and I get it. Like that, he hasn't been using that role a lot, but it's not just that. He can't win that face-off. And then he gets trounced from a possession standpoint. Like Kirby Dach wins face or loses face-offs, but he has good stats. Like he controls the play after. That's not happening with Newhook. It's not happening on the second line right now. So but there's one guy in the lineup that I think they should try up there first. And I want all of you to guess who it is, because I feel like I'm really just pontificating. I want to get more. Thomas is on the Joshua Roy train. Absolutely. Darn good. Roy on the second line. Quelque chose. Roy on the yes, we're getting back into the Joshua Roy on the good. I feel like we really turned on him too, in preseason. Wasn't that like crazy how quickly we're just like, fuck it. Like, I don't know. I felt really what he did last year in the NHL was more important than 12 minutes of janky preseason action. Jake Evans. Oh, okay. So, Kay mentions Jake Evans. Okay, listen, for all, I like Jake Evans, but if you have Jake Evans in your top six, like Jake Evans is such a hard worker, and I think what we saw tonight was that he, even before Suzuki, and it's not the first time he does this, I'm not trying to take it away from Suzuki, but I felt like Jake Evans was the first to be like, okay, like guys, we have to give an effort. And that's fantastic, but that's why Jake Evans is in the NHL, because he has to go all out. The talent, like the first time I ever met him, I walked into the Laval Rocket, the locker room, and I looked, no one's talking to Jake Evans. He's this guy. He just won, Frozen 4. He did good at Notre Dame. Also, am I crazy to always say Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. When he played at Notre Dame, he was quite good, and he scored a lot of clutch goals. But I asked him, hey, Jake Evans, like, what's your greatest strength? And he says, I don't have any. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. Give me something to work with. But then he's like, I don't really have any weaknesses, but that means I have to go 100% at all times. So I don't give Jake Evans an uptick in ice time right now. And it's because he's very useful on special teams, and I just don't know if he has that offensive potential. Trinka, there you go. Oh, no. Kekshow's got it first. You got it. Right? Kekshow's got it? Yeah, absolutely. Emil Heineman. All the attention has been on Roy and Kapanen. First of all, I like that Oliver Kapanen's not being used in the fourth line. He's on your second line center. A guy with one like fuck, man. Going up against the Rangers, I had a feeling it was going to be bad. I predicted 8-3, ended up being 7-2, but listen, when Oliver Kapanen's your second line center, there's going to be an issue. But Emil Heineman, in my opinion, has done a lot with with very few opportunities. He might have the best shot. He might have a better shot than Cole Caulfield. Like in terms of his pure release, I think that Emil Heineman's got a better release than Cole Caulfield. He connects on one-timers. He can score off the rush, which is a really, really weak point for the Canadiens. What I liked about Suzuki and Dach both being centers is that it spread out the skill in transition a little bit. We noticed this year that skill wasn't like they had a hard time doing it. Heineman's one of the few guys that can help on the wing in transition because he builds up that speed. And if you generate a ton of scoring, rush plays, you will score in the NHL. It's the highest rated play, so to speak, rather than obviously a dump in but rush plays, scoring off the rush is crucial. The best teams do it. The Canadiens don't. And that's where Wayne Hudson's helped in that respect. I'm also glad that the chat isn't going too down on Hudson and Mailloux tonight. I'm going to go rant about that in a little bit, but I'm sick of the Lane Hudson coverage, and it's not his fault at all, but we'll get into that. Emil Heineman worked well with the minutes he was given. He has fantastic underlying numbers. And listen, you put a guy in a fourth line role and you say, prove it, and he's playing well, then give him that chance. I just hate, the reason I did like Kapanen on the second line is that he's no longer in the fourth line. And Heineman on the fourth line is a bit of a waste, in my opinion. I'd rather have Alex Barré-Boulet there and, send Heineman to get those big minutes in Laval. I understand that Laval needs a guy like Barré-Boulet, but the Habs need goals more than Laval needs wins. Let's put it that way, right? So, okay, Conor, Kenny says, Jake, Josh, and Gally are doing good things. Absolutely. Okay, last year, and I know I often get the reputation of being like the guy that, as soon as everyone's crapping on a certain player, I'll be like, no, like, relax, unless it's Josh Anderson. But I will say this, Anderson has looked quite good this year, and the effort level is there. That play to get Suzuki that first goal, that was fantastic. He's finding open ice. He's being useful on the penalty kill. I also really like what I'm seeing from Jake Evans. Again, works hard, but to me, Well, you nailed it when you mentioned Brendan Gallagher. That's the guy, Conor. That's the guy who's being arguably, and it depends how you look at this, right? Because Nick Suzuki leads the team in points. He has the worst possession numbers, like the worst. Gallagher doesn't lead the team in points. He has the best. So you kind of want to find listen, neither are exactly the way I just mentioned them, right? There's going to be some difference. There's going to be Suzuki's not playing as poorly as his stats indicate, and Gallagher maybe not as good as they are. But what we have seen is Gallagher is now a guy that can bring possession onto your side. He's the only Montreal Canadiens player other than Emil Heinemann that was above 50% shot share this year. Brendan Gallagher has found the fountain of youth, and he's never going to score as much as he used to, but I have to give him full credit. I feel like it's just a reinvigorate. I feel like he actually also kind of took it personally last year when people start to turn on him. After this is a guy who gave his blood, sweat, and tears to this team, and yeah, his contract's bad. His contract now is a reward for all the hard work he did on a shitty contract early in his career, and I get that sucks now, but that happens in hockey. But I will say this is that in terms of effort level, I don't know how many other people are coming close to matching Brendan Gallagher right now. And if everyone put the same effort that Gallagher did, the Habs would be in much better shape. So I do like that he's leading by example. And that's very important because we can't expect Nick Suzuki to always be that guy, right? You need to have a few other people. So, I'm with you. That line has been fantastic. Third line, controlling pucks, scoring goals. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, well, that's what Trinka mentions here. That's what Anderson is breaking up plays, and he's no longer obsessed with. He wanted to get off the schneid so bad last year. Like, that's all he could think of. And he was getting so many quality chances. Josh Anderson should have scored 30 goals last year. It wasn't a skill issue. It was the worst GD luck I've seen in hockey. There's no way that he should have scored so few goals. This year, I think, instead of focusing on what he needs to do to get back to that player that he was once perceived to be, he's just playing the role. Like, hey man, if you're going to be the F1, go in quick and hard and get that puck out. Don't forget about the end of the road. Let's figure out, start paving it. Then we can talk about the end of the road. So I think really Anderson's done a really good job focusing on the task at hand. You know what I mean? Live in the moment, play one good shift at a time. And that's when hockey players start to play really well. But when you have that focus, when you're starting to squeeze that stick, there's no going back. So I really do like the way Josh Anderson has approached this season. On that note, even if he scores a couple goals, Leslie Whiskey, leave him where he is. There's no need to promote him. There's no need to immediately back in the top six. It's working well. A little bit like Jack was in that third pairing. It's working well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. Gorgeous goal by Nick. Okay. MFM 4283. I noticed today, and I don't really use mirrors very often. I know I always get that complaint. Like, she complains constantly, there's no mirrors in my house. But I did notice today that I'm starting to lose the, okay, I'm over 40. But I'm starting to lose my bridge head a little bit here. Like, it's going further. I've always had thick, lush hair. But then I noticed, and Gallagher's goes way back. So once you start to lose that beach head there, man, the war is over. You just got to call your troops back. Gallagher has the meanest bald spot, but hey, he's working hard. So he's working very hard right now. So I shouldn't be complaining about Brendan Gallagher's hairline. I hope that if I would ever be put in a position where I got the shit kicked out of me by defensemen every single night, my hair would be the least of my worries. I'm worried about Brendan Gallagher will never be able to eat a lobster again, unless his hand becomes like the actual breakers, those things you use for lobsters. But he'll never be able to manipulate things again because of what he's been through with that hand. So I'm just if I can be real for one moment, there's few people that have worked harder to make it to the NHL and to stay in the NHL than Brendan Gallagher. And there comes a certain point in everyone's career where they start to realize hey, the prime might have been a few years ago. And I think that kind of dawned on him. And it really hurt him to his soul that he was seeing people being like, hey, get rid of him, buy him out. And I think he took that personally, and that's the same approach that he took his whole life. Brendan Gallagher wasn't scouted by the Vancouver Canucks. Do you know where Brendan Gallagher played his WHL hockey? And it's not like his father was well known as well as a fitness trainer. So Brendan Gallagher has been just thrown aside, cast away, and disregarded his whole entire life. And this is just the latest example of him being like, hey, I'm not dead yet. He might be our Black Knight there that's saying tis but a scratch, but hey, man, he keeps standing up. And really, I think that's a really good example for everyone else in the team is that, yeah, sometimes things go down, sometimes things are tough, but no matter what, you got to give the people that paid good money, you got to give them a show, and you got to put maximum effort. And like tonight would have been fine if the Canadiens had given a Gallagherian effort, right? But they didn't, and the fans were legitimately upset, and I get that. So I love that Gallagher's really, not just that he took it personally, but he's kind of setting the tone. That's exactly what you want to see from your veteran. The horseshoe bald haircut is coming to style. We will be the ones laughing. Well, yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I just had the bowl cut though. That was like, back in my day, I used to wear an onion on my belt because it was the style at the time. I used to say, give me 5 B's for a nickel. But we actually, I was in a big family. I don't have my family anymore, but I was in a big family. So we didn't get proper haircuts. It was just literally like, it's, it was the Irish side, right? I got my Kennedy mug here. So it was literally, kids were popping out of everywhere. And it's all right, get your haircut, go. And once that bowl was done, you flipped it around, you put salad in it. Okay. Oh, and Kay mentions, please like the stream. Yes, absolutely. And we'll mention Kay's going to be, I'm super excited about this. I really haven't done a great job giving her enough time to explain how everything is going to go. But like us, she's going to learn on the job and she's going to do great. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm about to. I'm right about to. Kay represents everything we want to build at Game Over. And not just from the passion standpoint, and not just the giving people opportunities. Like one thing you realize in this industry is there are almost no opportunities. You have to know people, and even then, it's not enough. You will listen. If you're perceived as an outsider, they will actively try to destroy your career. So that's scary for a lot of people, and it's a setting that's not very friendly for a lot of people. So if we can just provide like a tiny bit of hope, for example. Kay's going to do great, and she's going to do great for a very, very long time. But it's that opportunity. That's all. It's not us that's doing the great thing. It's finally giving her an opportunity is what's important here. And that's kind of what we're wanting to do throughout the Game Over network. I have a little more experience. Andrew has a little more experience. We have a roster of young, intelligent, I was going to say kids, but they're not. They're all young adults that only need an opportunity. So I'm so pumped that Kay's going to be involved. And it's funny because Andrew sent me a message, and I guess I shouldn't talk about the exact hiring process, but I just assumed right away because he mentioned Kay had applied, and I was like, cool, so who's our other hosts? We went through we didn't give her anything given. We had our interview. It went very well, but hopefully in the near future, me and Andrew can kind of pull back from this a little bit and give more people an opportunity to have their voices heard. So like the stream, share the stream, subscribe, but also tell your friends that there's, a new startup that we're not part of the Rogers, monopoly or the Bell monopoly. There are so few opportunities, and we're one of the only ones that are actually giving some at the moment. So eventually we want to move out of that role and have people like Kay training the next generation. And if everyone's listening right now, you think you might be able to do this, we're always going to look for more hosts in the future, so keep that in mind. All right, let's go to the third period. Let's hold on one second. I can switch there you go. Andrew's got all these new things I'm supposed to do, and I'm so old. I used to have ICQ. I grew up without the internet. Can you crazy, right? Again, I'm going to go old man mode, but when the biggest invention, first of all, when you had a project, you'd go to the library and you actually go into like these things called books, and they're made of pulp and paper and there's ink on them, and we'd actually research our project. And then there was something that came out that was mind-blowing. It was the Encarta, Encyclopédie Encarta, which changed everything because you had a CD and you played it there. Now things are a little bit different, but I feel like I'm losing touch more and more every day. It's incredible how just I went from being the one that would fix my grandparents' internet, my parents' internet, to the one that's getting help now, and it's a humbling experience to say the least. Trinka, you're old too? Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna try to figure out how old you are. Do you remember when the Soviet Union collapsed? Because like I do. I remember that quite distinctly. The tanks going in, and that was right after. Shortly thereafter, there was the Berlin Wall came down and all that fun stuff. So yeah, if you're that old, you can come and hang out with me, and we can talk about the Berlin Wall a little bit more in the future. Oh, also, thinking about out loud, I was thinking about this the other day because me and Claire, we did that trivia once. I want to start a Habs trivia. Do you think that would work in Montreal? Like an in-person trivia? I feel like that would be a really good way of going about it. Anyhow, okay, so we're gonna wrap up. Oh, I'm so old. John Zion remembers books. I love it. I love it. And Nate Andrade. Yes, hey, listen, to bring it all back, I know we got a little bit out of touch from what I wanted to, and it's, you guys know I go completely off the road every time. That's just what I do. The Montreal Canadiens are the youngest team in the NHL. They have, off the top of my head, 4 or 5 rookies in their lineup. Last year they had 4 rookies in their lineup. The year before that they had 5 rookies in their blue line. Their coach, even though he's the 10th longest tenure in the NHL, which is pretty crazy, just goes to show how many people got fired, has very little experience. He's still the coach in the NHL with the least experience. Half their best players, their best prospects, are playing outside the NHL. You got used to Yuri Slafkovsky coming. Oh yeah, that's great. And Lane Hudson coming in. Well, wait, Ivan Demidov is still in the KHL. Jacob Fowler is still in the NCAA. Michael Hage, I always screw it up, still in the NCAA. So I know it on nights like these, it's a little difficult to kind of see forward in the future. And people say, like, how can you say they're on the right track? The Montreal Canadiens have built the foundation of something that could be very interesting. There are no guarantees in sports, but to me, looking at the personnel they have in place, they're not ready to compete yet, but they're on the right track. And to me, that's worth watching and being a little more patient with. I know every outlet, including Kent Hughes, said they're going to be better this year. That was a little bit of false hope. I agree. Shouldn't have been sold that way, but this was to be expected. Like, I really felt like tonight I got a bunch of people that I've known for a long while just literally got mad at me on Twitter for saying, hey guys, relax. I get it. I hate the guy that tells everyone else to relax because it's the worst thing you can tell everyone. But maybe Carey Price could do it for me. Honestly, this team needs more time, and there's going to be more ugly nights ahead. The Rangers are one of the best teams in the NHL. The Canadiens are one of the worst. It is what it is, right? So patience. Keep your head focused, though. Put those blinders on. Don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to the noise at all. Don't listen to the over-analysis of Lane Hudson. Like, I mean, can this kid get 5 seconds break? I've watched TSN twice this year, and they've repeated the same stuff all the time. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, man, this kid is a rookie. He has 5 games of experience, 6 games of experience. Let him breathe. Let him breathe a little bit. And I think that's what we need to do for all the Canadiens. There are ways to improve this team. Heineman, top 6 to me immediately. Arbor Xhekaj is back in the mix. Joshua Roy back in the mix. But as I think it was Thomas mentioned, that's not going to move the needle. Montreal Canadiens need to take a big step forward. It's going to come from an outside source and collectively from individual growth. But that individual growth for the Canadiens, it's a lot smaller than most assume because every other team in the NHL has young players, except for the Penguins. They're all 75 years old, except for Lars Eller. But every other team has young players that get better. So you really need to have that big, significant ad down the road. And I think that'll come, whether it's via trade or free agency, it will be important for the Montreal Canadiens. It's what they tried to do with Laine, but I'm talking like a real big piece. Every team that won the Stanley Cup has those key pieces, and I don't think the Canadiens are there yet. I really don't want everyone to lose patience so early in the season either, because there's going to be some good nights ahead. So yeah, Trinka mentions here, nobody ever relaxed after being told to relax. Yeah, absolutely agree. I've not that I've ever been held down by police officers, but when they're doing that and they're telling you to relax, it doesn't work at all. But let's be honest, there's going to be more rocky roads ahead. Is that one way I can say it? Okay. Hage, like with it, there you go. Kay's there to help us. We need statistic analysis and player development coach like the Canucks. Well, I agree. Okay, with Ramji that's saying that. I don't want to. It's a little early to say this, but it's a thought I've maintained since he's come. Martin St. Louis is probably the best motivator in the entire NHL. Like, you look at this guy, and how are you not going to run through a goddamn wall for him? He's accomplished more than most with less. You know what I mean? And he faced adversity. When you watched him play, it was quite clear that he wasn't a fan of the X and O's. He relied on talent. He relied on skill. And when a coach comes in that situation, for example, Wayne Gretzky or Thierry Henry, who's one of my favorite players of all time, they kind of get frustrated when they realize, like, oh shit, the natural talent that I tapped into to be a great player, it was a boon for me. It's a surplus. They don't have it. So I really strongly believe that the Canadiens could use a little help there in terms of X's and O's and strategy. I know Trevor Letowski is supposed to help like that, and Robida, but the Habs have no structure. And you can complain about Samuel Montembeault or Caden Primo for the next 20 years and won't change a thing. They're allowing 20 high-danger shots per game, and they have been since Martin Saint-Louis took over, and it's really hard to find where they've improved. I don't think this is necessarily a knock on Martin Saint-Louis, because what else do you expect, right? He got given a chance, and I think he's the guy that he bridges that gap between restarting and getting kind of ready to go, but I don't think he'll be the Canadiens coach when they're ready to compete. Absolutely not. No. And there you go. He's a very good quote. Yeah, we're building a home, not a house. What does that mean? What does that mean? Anyways, my home when I was younger looked a lot more like Roseanne Barr's home. Roseanne's, I'm so old. Did you guys watch Roseanne when you were younger? That's what my house looked like when I was younger. Not like Family Matters or anything. My family was Roseanne without the warm part at the end. Martin Saint-Louis is a great quote, but so was Joël Bouchard. So were a lot of coaches that didn't necessarily end up finding success. Now, he's been put in such a tough situation. Like, don't forget, the Canadiens, again, they traded Kovacevic, they traded Harris, their two best possession guys. He opted to keep Jack Guy out. That's on him. He lost Sean Monahan. There was 0% chance the Canadiens were going to be better this year just based on individual growth. Like that. Anyways, so as much as I don't think he's the goalie of the future or the coach of the future, I understand why they're being patient right now, because even if you put the best coach in place, it's a personnel issue on top of a structural issue. Kay mentions... Well, okay, Ramji, when you're saying statistical analysis, you mean a bigger department working with Chris Boucher. How do I say this? I won't. Boucher's always been like pretty shitty to me. I don't know why. I will say this. There's a risk when you base absolutely everything on statistical analysis. I think there has to be a healthy balance. Throwing out numbers, pretty useless without the actual footage to back it up. So as much as they do the investment on the statistical analysis side, which is fantastic. Like every business, not just sports, every business uses numbers to figure out the future. That's how business works. But I don't think you want to get too engulfed with that, because then you end up being the Hurricanes from 5 years ago that all the best underlying numbers, but they can't score, right? Like it's the Habs had that too for a little while. They were really good underlying numbers, but they just couldn't score. That was in the Pacioretty days. So there's balance. Let's put it that way. There's balance to be done. I wouldn't hail Chris Boucher as any sort of miracle worker. He's looking at the same numbers most people have access to, and he's making pretty easy calls, if I'm being honest. Okay, so no, okay. Well, the reason is he just didn't like me. He even said it. Like, it was just straight up said he didn't like me, and I get it. That's fair enough. I can be super annoying. Me also cool. I don't like you then. You know what I mean? Like, you arrogant prick. Anyhow, okay. So Trinka, we're gonna bring this home with Trinka, and my face keeps flashing. Don't forget, subscribe and like. And then I'm gonna cut it off. I know I always say I'm gonna cut off earlier. We're gonna cut it off now. Trinka mentions now, the thing about St. Louis said a lot, and it's true, that he's been in almost every player's position. He's been undrafted, he's been MVP, he's been on waivers. To me, Martin St. Louis would be the ideal assistant coach. Would he not? He'd be like the Kirk Muller, like the player's coach. And I think, again, statistics are important, but you need that guy that can actually relate to the players, that can actually motivate them. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to motivate Kirby Dach by saying, hey, listen, last year when you played in this position, you had 53% expected goals. Nah. Écoute, that's where you need guys like Martin Saint-Louis to come in and really be like, if I did it, you guys can. But that's separate from strategy, right? So I think he's doing as good as he could considering his experience and the circumstances. Is that fair? And I feel like people are going to start to get down on St. Louis, but if Scotty Bowman had this team right now, they wouldn't be doing any better. And I honestly believe that. I know we want to press fast forward, and I know this sucks. The Habs are losing games. They're getting their butt kicked. And you're 3 years in. You want to start to see results. I get it. Think of all the people paying for season tickets. 3 years is a lot of years of bad hockey. But I promise you, this is the best way forward for the Montreal Canadiens if they're to ever reach a level where they are sustainability in how much they compete. So short-term pain, long-term gain, but the short-term pains ended up being a little longer. And I think really just go back to everyone that sold you dreams in the last 2 years. Look at who you've been listening to. And anyone that said, oh, they're going to be so much better, maybe next time, don't listen to them. And those that said, hey, like, like emotions aside, I don't think they're going to be that good, you should listen to them. They're really smart. OK, merci tout le monde. Salut. On va se parler. I'm actually heading out. I have to go see an old friend of mine who's in town and not doing great, so I'm going to go see them. I won't be around for a few days, but I will be back on Saturday. And Kay's going to be with me if I can actually arrange so that it shows our face. Oh, there you go. I missed again. But I want everyone, if possible, first of all, to support Kay as much as you can. Go follow her on Twitter. I forget what her new Twitter account is. But share the word for Saturday. I don't want to put too much pressure on you, Kay. Don't worry. I'll be here. And as long as I'm here, I'll be the bigger fool, always. But you're going to do great. You're going to do great. We're going to have our show on Saturday. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be coming back from the country just in time. And we will see you all on Saturday. On est patient. Faut être patient. I know it sucks, but we got to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. What else can I have some other sayings that, no, they probably won't work. But honestly, it's the slow cooker approach. Slow and low, let the beat flow. And hopefully, the Montreal Canadiens will be a better team. I'm telling you, there's more nights like this ahead. But if this all works out the way it should be, it will lead to better things. That's it for now. Merci tout le monde. I will see you all on Saturday.